Welcome to Women's Brew, where women talk about beer. In today's episode, we're not talking about okay ships, we're talking about cool ships. I'm Joanne, and this is Tori.
Hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. I like that intro. That was a good one.
I'm on one today.
Yeah.
So that's it's as I said to you before we recorded, I was going to say we're not talking about hot chips, and then I was like, that doesn't make sense. But what's the opposite of being super cool? Being okay. So that's what you ended up with. I couldn't miss that opportunity.
It works.
The coolest ships, basically, is what we're going to talk about today. Now, I'm quite interested. I know you've got your facts together. I think you even learned about some of this stuff in a course that you were doing.
Yes, you're going to find out that I'm doing my certified Cicerone studying. Some of that is going to come out today.
But I'm quite excited because I think I've heard a lot of stuff about, I know Duration did. I mean, you'll see in a minute, but Duration did lots of Coolship things, and I've seen Wild Beer doing Coolship things. Recently they posted about doing Coolship things, which we'll talk about sort of later, but I just found it quite interesting because I never really properly knew what a Coolship was. So I still kind of don't, because I realized that when we were going to do this episode, I actually didn't want to do any research because I just wanted to learn. So as usual, zero research.
I've got loads of things to say. I'm excited. I love a Coolship beer, and I've been finding out more about it recently, and it's just really interesting, and it's really interesting where it came from and why we do it and things like that. So yeah, we've picked 3 beers that kind of showcase the evolution of where we are at with Coolships now and where they came from. So I think that's exciting. So I think we need to start by talking about, in case you missed it, how is beer made? So we've
quick high level overview,
quick
of it, 1,000-foot view, as we like to say in the project management world.
Yeah, how is beer made? Just in case you haven't heard us talk about it before, you might be new, you might not have heard of other episodes where we've talked about it. You might just, be popping in because you saw the cool stuff about Coolships.
Coolships.
So
not okay ships, Coolships.
So let's tell you how beer is made. So, grains are mixed with hot water that, once it's hot, is referred to as liquor. They are steeped in that water for at least an hour. It's usually longer. It can be longer as well. It's about an hour, sometimes longer. And that extracts starches and enzymes that then become fermentable sugars. The malting process on those grains previously will determine what colours, flavours and aromas are going to come from them. Once we have that liquid, which has its fermentable sugars in it, it is then called wort. That is removed from the grains. It is boiled. At that point you can add hops or other various ingredients depending on what you're making. Boils are usually about an hour, sometimes longer, depending on the style that you're making. Once your boil is finished, you got to cool down that wort to the correct temperature to be able to pitch yeast in. Once the yeast is in there, it will convert the fermentable sugars into carbon dioxide and alcohol, and then you have beer. It has to be cold. Not even cold. It has to be the correct temperature, your wort, after you've done the boil, for your yeast to go into. Because if you put yeast in and your wort is too hot, it's gonna kill your yeast off. If it is too cold, your yeast is going to get really sluggish and not do its job properly. So that getting your wort to the correct temperature is really important. So when you're cooling your wort to it down ready for your yeast to go into it, you want to do this relatively quickly, because that for several reasons. One, you need to get it cooled down quite quickly because you don't want to risk infection. You don't want to risk microbes being able to get into there and sit around in that nice warm liquid and multiply. You also don't want something to build up in the beer called DMS. DMS is an off flavour. That will come across as
When you said DMS, I just wanted to be like, what do you really want? Because I just instantly think DMX.
Oh,
Sorry,
dear.
I had to just chime in. We were getting
dear.
very
We're
technical.
getting very we are doing very technical here.
Okay, so DMS,
So,
what you really want? Carry on.
DMS comes across as like a creamed corn flavor and aroma. It's not desirable in any style of beer at all. But that is made in wort at any point when it is around 60 degrees. And it will build up. It happens in the boil. It is produced in the boil, but it's because you got a rolling boil, it is volatile and it is boiled off, so you don't get it. But if your beer is allowed to sit for too long at higher temperatures, it will build up in the wort, and that's going to end up transferring to your final flavors, which you don't want. So you need to cool it quite quickly. You also don't want hot side aeration, which is where it's warm. When it's warm, you could introduce oxygen to it. That is then going to give you off flavors as well later on in your beer. That's going to produce like wet paper and cardboard flavors and just those staling flavors that we don't want. So nice and quick, get it cool as quickly as possible. Nowadays, we use something that is called a heat exchanger, or a counterflow exchanger, and the hot wort is pumped in from one way and cold water is pumped in the other way past like plates, and the wort cools down and the water heats up, and economical breweries will take that hot water and put it aside into their hot liquor tank to use in future brews, and it cools down your wort nice and quickly so that you can pitch your yeast into it to start that carbonation and alcohol process. But before this technological advancement of a heat exchanger came into place, how were our brewers going to cool down their wort? As we want to do it nice and quickly, the best way to do that is to have a big surface area on your wort. That means a really big tray. So if you've not seen a Coolship, it's basically a really big trough, and it's not very deep, so that you can get it nice and laid out and big surface area. So while you've got that big surface area, it's going to cool down more quickly. Originally, I'm kind of getting into it now. Should we crack a beer, because I'm going to get into this.
Let's crack a beer, and then you can go in on a roll. And
I'm on a roll, but
DMS or anything like that.
Because we're going to come into, so our first beer is from St. Mars of the Desert. It is Frogs. I'm excited. I like the art, the can art on that.
I always really like the artwork, because it's always the artwork on all the St. Mars is. I like the cartoony drawings on it. I just like how their artwork comes across, to be honest. Yeah. Frogs and Mice. The Battle of Frogs and Mice. Quite like that.
Yeah, it was over 2 set, but we could only get 1. This is Frogs. It is a special.
I was going to say, was there mice as well?
Yes, there was.
Nice.
It's fermented with Belgian yeast. The reason we got a St. Mars of the Desert beer is because they have a Coolship, but they call it a flat cooler. And basically that's how they call their wort, like how they begin to call their wort. So we got one of these in honor of that flat cooler.
Can't really see it in the video because it looks a lot darker on my video than
it smells amazing.
It really does. I cracked it open. I was like, oh, that smells nice.
It is like a dark amber. Well, it's like kind of an orangey amber.
Yeah, it's like an orangey amber, but when you put it on the video, it looks really dark.
Yeah, it looks ready. It's got amazing Belgian-y spicy smell.
I can't even. I tried to fix the light and it just still didn't work. It doesn't work. Just take my word for it.
That's nice.
Oh yeah,
that's nice.
That is good.
So it's kind of dark bready, dark bread crust.
Definitely dark bready. A
little bit spicy. There's a touch of bitterness in there. I reckon that's from hops.
See, the thing is the bitterness is so subtle that it's not. I barely even notice it.
It'll be a balancing bitterness because there'll be sweetness from those malts that are in there. That's
I love
nice.
that nice maltiness. I love a nice malty bready beer
Yeah, me too.
because I don't know, there's something about that, and I feel like when you get I feel like there's so many like traditional beers that have that malty breadiness, and I think that's probably like what I like the most about traditional
Yeah,
style beers is
Yeah,
that malty bready
definitely.
taste. I don't know, it makes me feel hearty. I don't know.
You will notice that it is almost completely clear. It's not quite bright, but it is pretty clear. But that's important
that.
because
Look at that lacing on that.
one of the reasons that it's good to use a flat cooler is because it allows all the trub to drop down and you get really good clarity in your beer. So the trub is like proteins and bits of hop and things that have ended up in the wort, and they, as you leave them, they gradually settle out and drop to the bottom. So in a Coolship, you can get nice clarity on your beer. So as I said, we picked this beer because it's by St. Miles of the Desert, and they have one of these flat coolers. So it was an 18th to 19th century piece of equipment, and it is variously called a cooler, a cooling tray, a coolship, a flat cooler, which is the proper English term, a coolsh, which means refrigeration ship or refrigeration vessel.
So like don't confuse that with a kolsch.
Yeah,
different
and a coolship,
Coolship,
which is the Dutch version.
That's I think my favorite one.
Various different.
That's my favorite.
I think that's just my pronunciation of it. Various different spellings, but it is thought that this kind of technology kind of evolved in brewing processes around the world, kind of at the same time, because it seems to be the obvious way to cool down wort quickly. So the wort would be put into this cooling tray after the boil, so around 100 degrees Celsius, and it would require an overnight stand. So imagine this big kind of trough outside the brewery at night, steaming away, cooling down nicely. What a lovely picture that is. Imagine.
Yeah, but then I think of all like
things.
Yeah, I think it seems like it's a really nice picture, but then like my brain goes like, if what if the animals like what if a cow confuses it and is like, oh, my water.
I've got a thing about that later.
Oh, okay,
we'll come to that.
All right. I do have a question. Do you think you could make a kolsch in a kolsch?
I mean, you can make any beer in it.
Because like, think about that. That's an idea for someone. That's an idea for someone.
Because all beer was made this way before we had heat exchangers. So any beer can be made.
They could call it though. They could call it a kolsch or kolsch. I'm just saying, good idea for you guys. It's catchy.
So these were made out of various different materials. They could be made from copper because that had quite a good heat conductivity. By the late 1890s, there were wooden ones that were lined with copper, and there were some that were lined with lead as well. So you got to be a bit careful over the time.
Okay. I mean, alcohol kills most things, I guess.
I mean, there isn't
maybe not lead.
There isn't any alcohol in it yet. So
true.
Yeah.
However, when you're brewing the spider thing that you've got for brewing, the
my hop spider or my
my
wort chiller.
Your wort chiller. I was trying to think. I was like, it's not the spider, but I couldn't think of the name of it. Is that made out of copper? Because it looks copper. Yeah, so that's what effectively I'm assuming that's kind of
because it conducts heat really well, and so you can that is a copper coil of tubing that connects to my tap, and we run cold water through it, and so then that chills my wort very quickly. This is why it was lined with copper, because there's good conductivity. The one that they have at St. Miles is actually made out of stainless steel nowadays, because stainless steel is much easier to clean and it doesn't impart any extra flavors into the beer. So that's really important. That's why we use a lot of stainless steel. And of course, Sheffield is famous for making steel. And as they are in Sheffield, it's very useful for them. However,
I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, right. However, it is 3,000 times less thermally conductive than copper. So it cools down, like it takes much longer to cool down than a copper one would. but they say that's
so
fine.
Interesting though, because you think of like the technology that we have today and the fact that somebody is still choosing to like make beer in that way. I find that really interesting.
So the reason that they do that is because they like to use it also as a hop stand. So while it's cooling down, they'll put hops in there, and the heat will still extract. It will extract a little bit of bitterness, but mostly it's extracting the oils for the aromas and flavors. And they think that this gives their beers lots of fruit-like flavors. And I think we can attest that.
I was gonna say, it's definitely like this is getting a bit like I know initially we're like, oh yeah, it's that breadiness, that malty breadiness. But actually I am getting like a bit more raisiny type fruit, dried fruit.
That'll be from the Belgian yeast.
Yeah, I love it. I love good Belgian yeast.
So they'll let that stand for a short period of time, and then they run it through the cooler through a paraflow heat exchanger, and then after that it goes into the fermentation vessel with the yeast. So they kind of do a little combination of both. There are only a small number of breweries that do this with the cooling tray or the flat cooler, that aren't specifically kind of using it for making Coolship beers, which we will come to in a moment. They think that there are themselves. There's a Gansala Brow in Franconia, and Allagash use one, but they use it for making Coolship beers. And then other breweries that we can think of that use Coolships, Burning Sky, Duration, Wild Beer Co. Pretty much anyone that's told you they've got a Coolship beer will have one of these.
Well, I think that's it. Is I couldn't list off a massive amount of them off the top of my head. To be honest, I feel like I only know Allagash because that's more the part of the world I'm from, so I'm more familiar with Allagash than maybe some other people abroad are, if that makes sense. I feel like the ones that I know that have a Coolship, it's a small number, but it's because of the fact that they go out of their way to say like, we have a Coolship, and they kind of make you interested. Like I found that that's what made me interested and want to learn about Coolships, is they're like, we've got a Coolship.
So St. Mars use it for cooling, and they only use it kind of for partially cooling, because then they use a heat exchanger. They can sometimes be used for fermentation as well. There are two ways to ferment your beer. You can do it in closed fermentation, which is probably what most people are more used to seeing, which is those big silver tanks with a conical bottom. That's closed fermentation, where it's shut in. If you're a home brewer like me, it goes into a demijohn or a bucket and you seal it up. That's closed fermentation. You can do open fermentation, where it's in one of these trays. And once the yeast is added, when you're brewing, when fermentation is happening, a thick head of foam appears on the top that's called the krausen. One of the things that is often said about using a Coolship or this cooling tray is that obviously there, as it's open, you've got the opportunity for microflora and microbes to get into the beer. If you're fermenting in this vessel, that is less of a concern, because once that krausen is on top of your beer, it kind of seals it off. So that stops anything else getting into it. But that's when the addition of a brewer's yeast, a lager yeast or an ale yeast, is added. When we move into our next kind of breweries, we're going to mosey on over to Belgium and little places that you may have heard of, like Cantillon. Dun, 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 Tori's holding up a bottle. Tori has got a Cantillon. We're not going to drink Cantillon.
I'm not going to drink my admittedly, when you find out what I'm going to drink instead, as I'm holding a Cantillon, it'll probably make some people sad, but I'm not willing to open up my Cantillon
Save that
on a weeknight.
No.
For the sake of drinking it for this episode. I'm really sorry, guys. This is just show and tell.
So when you think about coolships, you might think about lambic, you might think about Belgian brewers like Cantillon. Because to make a lambic style beer, which is a spontaneously fermented beer, they use a coolship. The wort is put in there to cool, and then like the windows are opened and the microflora and natural yeast are allowed to inoculate the wort and create the beer. So that's a very particular way of making beer. It's how lambics, gurs, fruited lambics, that's how they're all started off being made. They're also a beer that is blended. So after they've had that inoculation phase, they are then put into barrels. Arguably, more of that inoculation happens from microbes that are in the wood in the barrels. So that's a whole process. But it started off with a coolship. Not all Belgian beers, can I stress, are created in a coolship, and they're not all sour. They're not all inoculated wild, as we say. It's thought that in 1976, Westvelteren did away with their coolship. And that's the last time that they brewed what they refer to as their sweet and sour beer recipe. Because obviously, as a coolship, it might have been getting a bit of microbes in it, got a bit sour. Then they cleaned up their beer and had it brewed with brewer's yeast rather than.
You say sweet and
random.
sour beer, I just think of like a sweet and sour chicken or something like that. Like I think of like a takeaway. That's like the takeaway of beer. One sweet and sour beer, please.
Oh dear.
Like, tell me it's not. Yeah, at me, guys. Let me know that sweet and sour beer. That's like, I think of chicken.
Anyway, shall we drink? Shall we drink, Kate? You've got a fruited lambic. I've got a gurs.
Yeah. So, while I displayed the Cantillon, so originally I was like thinking about drinking it. I've got a big bottle of Cantillon. But I was like, that is a definite sharer. I'm not drinking a whole bottle of Cantillon to myself, like a big. It was not this was the 375, I think. One. Yeah, I got the 375 one, but then I've got the one that's like the next bigger size up. And I was like, oh, that's a bit much for like one of three beers and too much for my own. And then I thought maybe I'll have the 375 one.
Then she chickened out.
And then I was like, oh, but that is such a commit. Like, I don't want to feel like I've not taken in the opportunity fully, so instead I've got this, I don't know how to say it, but effectively it's peach. It is a peach lambic.
Yeah.
I think we both get one of these at one point, or was it the pumpkin?
No, I've not got a peach one. Oh no, we both got the pumpkin one.
We both got the pumpkin, and I ended up getting this peach one as well because it was like on offer when I got it, and it was like super cheap, and I was like, I want to try it. I love peach.
Yeah, no, it's good. I've had it. It is good.
Find out.
I've got Boone gurs. Mine is corked, of course, because a gurs is corked.
This one's a nice, lovely corked one. This one just has a bottle opener. But look at that shine. Look at that bling bling. Nice gold foil. Don't say I don't treat myself nice on a weeknight. It's been a day. Oh, it is corked. Haha, jokes on me. You can't see it because it's foiled.
You have got to watch these.
I'm really scared.
You've got to watch them.
I'm really scared. I don't want to do it.
Because they do put a cork in them. Oh, mine is beautiful.
I'm scared because I actually need to use a bottle opener for it. Oh, no, mate. No. Ooh, I'm risking it for a biscuit. Opening up a beer with a bottle opener. Is that miles different than open up a wine with a bottle opener?
No, it's exactly.
I've never had to do it because normally it's like yours where it pops off.
It's just a cork.
I'm scared. All right.
It's exactly the same.
I don't have that much experience.
If you're not watching the video,
I'm fooked.
Tori is using a corkscrew, one of the ones with the little arms. They've probably got a name. She's freaking out because she's got to get a cork out of a bottle. It's exactly the same as a wine. Do not panic.
I'm not even doing it the right way. This is it. I never open up bottles because I drink beer or I drink like Prosecco or something like that. And I never have to.
Champagne cork.
It's a champagne cork. That's it. I don't have to take bottles.
So, fun fact about why a gurs is corked.
I'm scared.
So,
right, hold on.
Oh wait, she's opening it. She's opening it. There you go. It's just like opening wine.
Yeah, I did it. Oh, and now I've got a nice little memento.
It's got a nice one. Right, so fun fact about why Gers is corked. So Gers is a blended lambic. I mean, most lambics are blended anyway, but it is a combination of 1, 2, and 3-year-old lambics. In fact, it has to have 1, 2, and 3-year lambics to be called an Erd Gers, which this one is. And they came about because a lambic brewer ran out of barrels to put his lambic in, and he had some old champagne bottles hanging about, so he chucked them in there. Putting them in the bottle had made bottle conditioning happen, and it was much more fizzy than your regular lambic. So the locals started asking for the bottled lambic. The name Gers came about because it was originally created on Gersenstraat. So then they went from the bottled lambic to Gers, and they experimented with different levels of adding in old and new lambic, and they found that putting the newer lambic in created the effervescence that they wanted, and so you have beautiful Gers.
I'm going to guess what this label says is it's a fruit lambic Belgian and spontaneous fermentation.
See, there you go.
Yeah, it smells really nice. The lacing a second ago was really, really nice on the glass, and it smells really nice and sweet. But it's like sweet, but there's still that sort of like that slight funkiness that you get like when you have something that's more wild, but you can really smell the peach in this one, and it's really like a sweetness, like a sweet fruitiness.
Yeah.
But then I haven't taken a sip yet. I'm a bit like curious what it's going to be like, how peachy it's going to be. Is the peach going to land in the right way? Because I think peach is quite difficult for it to land in the right way for me. Like sometimes it can taste too synthetic, if you know what I mean. Like it can have too much of a weird synthetic chemically taste to it sometimes.
Right.
So I'm interested to see what this is going to taste like.
Here we go.
It tastes like peach juice.
Well, yeah, because it will have been aged in peach, like actual.
No,
peaches,
but I mean, like,
but
I mean, it doesn't. I think I was expecting it to be really, like, really fizzy or something like that. Like, I think I was expecting it to be exceptional.
It's not a Gers. That's the thing. So the Gers is very fizzy because it's got that re-fermentation in the bottle. A lambic is less so, because it's like just naturally carbonated, and it's layered with the different ages of the lambics. But Gers specifically has more young put in it to make that effervescence in it.
I think it's like because it had a cork in it, like my brain just went to like expecting it to be more carbonated, and it's not. It's just like peach juice. I like peach juice.
I like a fruited lambic. But so we are getting funky notes from these, and obviously that is coming from those microflora and the microbes that are allowed to go into the wort as it is cooling in the coolship overnight. Lambics and Gerses are specifically made in a particular region in Belgium, around Brussels, and it is thought that that area has the right microbes and microflora in the air, and the wild yeast and everything in the air to create these particular types of beers. Although our craft brewers are starting to experiment in their own ways to see what kind of things they can get in their beers from the areas that they're in. Interestingly, you can put your inoculated wort from your coolship into barrels or into fooders. Barrels, obviously, can sit on their side. Fooders tend to be upright and bigger. And generally, barrels are used for lambic and Gers, and a fooder is used for Flanders red ales, like the Duchess, which is one of our faves, because the shape of it better supports the production of acetobacter, which gives those kind of balsamic vinegary notes that you want in a Flanders red. Fun facts.
We just got the was it the Holy Goat that we just got a Flanders red of?
Yes, that's a Flanders red style.
Yeah, Flanders red style. Quite interested to try that one, to be fair. Sounds like it was going to be quite good. Ended up getting it. I think I've worked out what it is. And this, I think it's because it's 2.5% alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not very high. Because moving from like the St. Mars, which was 8%, across to 2.5%, I was like, oh, is there actually any alcohol in this? Because I'm not even sure. And to be honest, I didn't even look. I just looked for, I've got the lambic star. I'll go with that. And then I was like, oh, it doesn't taste alcoholic. And I was like, is it wrong? Like, I don't know. And then I looked and it's like 2.5%. And I can't even tell you the last time I had I think the Sheep and Wolves Clothing was the last time I had like a 2.5% beer. So yeah,
out practice.
Really, it's not often that you tell somebody that you're out of practice of drinking like low ABV beers. It's really funny, isn't it? Because normally it's like, oh, I'm out of practice of drinking, 8-9% or anything like that. It's like, I'm out of practice of what a 2.5% is like. Oh, crazy. So yes, it's very drinkable, I think, because of that low ABV. It just comes across like juice.
That's trouble.
A bit, yeah. It'd be lovely on a sunny day, I think.
I love a fruited lambic. So I will put in the show notes a link to the St. Mars of the Desert blog post about their cooler. It's got loads of really good pictures and information in it. It's also got a picture of the Coolship from Cantillon, so you can see what that looks like, so you have more of an idea of what we're talking about if you can't visualize it. Interestingly, I'm going to do a bit of a side step here. There is another vessel which is also cuboid shaped that is used. It's called
that. I love that word, cuboid.
Why do you love that word?
I don't know. It's just a really fun word.
There is another vessel, similar but not the same, which is called a Yorkshire square.
I know this one.
Yeah.
Is this the one that the other brewery uses?
That other brewery does use them.
Hold on. Is it? I want to say. Hold on. Samuel Smith.
Yes.
I wanted to say Smiths, but I couldn't. Off the top of my brain, could not think of the name Samuel. And I was like, I know it's not just called Smiths, and I'm not just going to shout out Smiths because that's not going to make any sense. But yes, I know Samuel Smith does. When we had the Nutty Brown Ale, if anyone saw that, when we had the Nutty Brown Ale, and I think we actually did an oatmeal one as well at one point.
Yeah, I think we did, yeah.
The back of the labels show them. Yeah. And it's quite interesting.
I got a picture of these Yorkshire squares. So I was like, well, how is a Yorkshire square different from a Coolship? So I thought I'd have a look because I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting.
So a Yorkshire square is a unique fermenting vessel that originated in the north of England because it's called a Yorkshire square. They were originally made of stone, then out of slate, but modern vessels are made out of stainless steel because we like to make everything out of stainless steel. So they are cubic in shape, and they were originally quite small. So one of the drawbacks of having a Coolship is that they take up a lot of space because obviously you want the biggest surface area that you can. So they do.
They're quite long, but
long and shallow, so they take up a lot of space. Yorkshire squares are smaller, but modern squares can have 250 to 300 hectolitres in them, so they're deeper than a Coolship. And it's specially designed to assist with yeast collection. So you are going to be fermenting your beer in this Yorkshire square. It particularly works with top fermenting yeast, which is ale yeast, because it is highly flocculent, which means that it drops out and can then be collected. The vessels actually have a lid on them, which has a hole in it. And so the wort is pumped in, and then as the fermentation happens and that thick layer of krausen happens, it comes up through the hole and sits on top of this lid, and is fermenting underneath. And then on the top, you get kind of this like murky gunk on the top of it, and you can skim that off, and then you can clean off the yeast and save that to use another day.
Oh, it's really good sustainability wise, but the way it sounds just sounds like it just sounds like when you're just the gunky bit, and then you just scrape it. Yeah, skim it off
and reuse it. And there's like a little pipe that when the beer that's in that foam drops off and drains off, and then that goes back into the square.
It's quite clever, isn't
it? So Samuel Smith's use it at their Tadcaster Brewery in Yorkshire, and Black Sheep Brewery in Masham used this when they started in 1991. Oh, and Tetley's cask bitter was well known for being fermented in them as well. It's quite rare that anybody's got one now. Samuel Smith's have obviously still got theirs. But it said that if you ferment your beer in a Yorkshire square, you get a more full-bodied and often fruity character to your beer.
I think, to be fair, that the Samuel Smiths we've had that like dry fruit taste to it. Both, if I remember correctly, both of them had that similar fruitiness to it.
Yes.
I don't know. When you say Yorkshire squares, I think it should be like a snack food. Or something like
knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like a snack food.
Sounds like a crisp.
Yeah, no. It sounds like a cupcake, like not a cupcake, a brownie or something, like a millionaire shortcake. Like, it's a Yorkshire square. Does it not? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Foreign brain.
You just think about food.
I do. I love food so much.
Anyway, lots of history behind a Coolship, and our modern craft breweries love to do a bit of historical brewing, try things out, see what they can do with them, and so they have adopted using Coolships themselves. So Allagash is thought to be the brewery that brought them back in 2007 because they were starting to die off, and various breweries use them now as well. Blue Jacket in Washington, Dovetail Brewery in Chicago, Mantra Artisan Ales and Yazoo Brewing Company have mobile Coolships.
That's interesting.
And they can move them to fields, state parks, or anywhere that they want to get local flavour into their beer.
That is craziness.
Right, that's good, isn't it?
That's just the idea that you'd be like, oh, let's try getting the flavour
on some wheels
this day. Yeah, this place, this location. Just move it.
I've got an even better one, but I'm going to save it
because I want it to be good fact.
I've got a better fact than that, and we're going to save it to the end. We're going to save it to the end because it is amazing.
Okay,
amazing.
All right.
So, shall we talk about UK breweries that are using Coolship?
Sure, I'm going to ditch my canteen.
You're going to put your canteen
I want to make it
away.
I have a canteen.
Put your canteen away. So we have got one from the lovely Duration.
It's a collab with Daya.
It's a collab with Daya.
It's by the name.
In the Coolship. And it's part of their Fermata range, which are done in their Coolship. Let's crack this open and then we'll talk about...
It's a wild wit.
It's a wild wit. Ooh, she was lively.
If you saw a break in if you see a break in the video right about here, that was a wild panic.
That croc was getting out of that Coolship.
The croc did not want to be in the Coolship.
It did not.
So I love wit beers, full stop. I like wild beers, great. And like when you make like a wild wit beer, just sounds wording amazing to me. I'm censoring myself today.
I drank it. It's so good. Right,
like 20 more of these.
I know.
Like honestly, love them.
I might have to start a proper cellar.
I feel like I already kind of have one, and I'll be murdered if I were to buy more of them. But
this is true. The trials and tribulations of being a podcast host. Who drinks beer?
Yeah, I mean, you buy beer that you want to actually enjoy,
yeah,
and then you end up being like, oh, but we could get this for a podcast, and then you buy more beer, and then you end up
Never-ending.
with a lot of beer, but then you don't end up time to
Never-ending.
drink it because all you do is drink podcast beers. It's great. I'll show you a picture later. You'll see how bad my life is.
So the thing about the duration ones is, and most kind of sour and Coolship made beers, is that they will change over time, because obviously, you know, that yeast and the bacteria and things in there that are doing all the lovely things are going to keep changing over time as it ages. This has got some lovely funk to it.
Yes.
And lemoniness.
Yeah, I would say like the funkiness for me is more in the smell than in the taste.
Yes.
Like sometimes you can get like heavy funkiness in the smell that it comes through the taste. Yeah. But like actually, I think if you were to be a person that doesn't enjoy funk, you would smell this in the same way that you'd kind of smell a saison and you'd be like, oh, like, no, thank you.
Like, no, thank you.
But it doesn't come through in the taste that way. You've got this nice like dryness in the taste, I think. And it's almost a bit, there's a bit of like spice to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think like, I'm trying to think, it's like the tip of my tongue could name the spice, but I can't quite get it out because I think there is quite a distinct particular spice.
Do you want me to say what I think it might be?
No, let me try to hold on. Let me take another sip. I don't know if the peach is messing around with it as well.
It might be.
Like I almost wanted to say like a peppercorn or something like that. Yeah, peppercorns, I would say. Clove, yeah, I could see clove.
Like clove or peppercorn.
Yeah, it's just this nice. It is a nice dry, in the same way that I like a saison. It has that similar taste to it, but I don't think it's like it's not heavily in like a what you normally get from like a wit beer in general. I don't think. I mean, there's the spicy notes and stuff, but
so it's got coriander in it as well.
That's the word I was looking for, coriander. I was like peppercorn. I was like, it's peppercorn, but what is the other thing? And the other thing that I was thinking of was coriander, but I couldn't. I was like, I know it starts with a C, but I can't get it to the edge of my brain.
Really well with the lemon, because I always find that coriander gives kind of a citrusy vibe.
Yeah, I think the lemon's quite like light though. Like I wouldn't say it's this like really, really heavy in your face lemon. So like if you were a person that's like, oh, I don't necessarily love like sour lemon, it's not like that.
No.
It's really
lovely.
It's definitely another one of those like sit in the sun type beers.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
Sunny day, beer garden, especially if you're abroad. Like I feel like if I was going abroad, even though this is a UK beer, if I was going abroad and I was going to go sit out in the sun somewhere in the south of France, this would be probably what I would want to drink.
Nice. So Duration have got a Coolship, and they've got it in a part of their brewery, and the ceiling is lined with wood. And actually the rafters are made from local chestnut. And they did that on purpose.
They're in a barn, aren't they?
Yeah. And they did that on purpose because they when the hot wort is put into the Coolship, obviously it's very steamy. The steam will rise up and it'll soak into that wood, and then it'll kind of the wood is hoped to kind of release stuff, so you get kind of an ecosystem where, you know, microflora is coming from the wood and coming from and you're getting it from the air, and it's all just gonna
that's like very smart. And I was like, when you said, oh, they've done that for a reason, I was thinking, what is that reason? And the second you started saying it heats up, I had a light bulb moment and I was like, ding. I know where this is going. And that is really smart, and something that I don't think that I would like when you do a brewery tour. Yeah, those are the little like touches on breweries that those are things that you never think of, and then someone tells you and you're like, oh my god, it makes so much sense. Yeah, and it's so clever that somebody thought about that. Like that's something that I just think detail wise I would totally just miss completely.
So interestingly, Burning Sky in their Coolship room have got barrel staves in their ceiling.
Wow, okay,
for the same reason.
Interesting.
Yep. Right, interesting.
That is really interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know whether he's done it yet, because I feel like these have had some sort of brewer's yeast added to them as well. But I know that Bates at Duration was wanting to literally just try and do a beer that was just like fermented with whatever it was inoculated with from the air. Like he didn't want to put any other yeast in it. So that would be a really interesting beer.
Yeah, I'd quite like to try one of those ones you mentioned where they like have the mobile ones and they're like, oh, we've gone to a field. Really like I think that would be super interesting if a brewery that had that, one of the ones you mentioned that has that, if they did they might have done, I don't know, if they'd done like a series that they brewed a specific recipe and then they just went, let's put it here, let's put it there, or they did it in all different type, the same spot, maybe different seasons.
Oh yeah,
like that would be
that'd be really
incredibly interesting. Just from like a really nerdy perspective, I would love to see something like that, to see like what are the different flavors that come through on that.
This is all leading in to this amazing story that I've got.
Is it literally gonna blow? Like I feel like I don't know if you're blowing this like
no, you're gonna love it,
overhyping it like Spider-Man, or if it's gonna be like
So I read it while I was doing my research. I read it in 2 different places, and then I had to do more research on it because I was like, this
fascinating,
is amazing. But anyway, I'm going to come to that in a minute because I want to talk about other breweries. So obviously there are other breweries that do in the UK that do Coolships. Wild Beer Co. Got my Wild Beer Co. t-shirt on. They have just released their Coolship.
I've got them open. It was a 3 set this year.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because it was also incorporated St. Mars the Desert.
Yes, they've done a collaboration with them.
You have the Coolship 2022, and I actually think you can still buy the Coolship 2021 as well, because I saw a bottle of that on their website, I believe. And this one is single malted Coolship sour, divine flavors of apricots and stone fruits, cooled in shallow vats overnight to pick up the Westcombe microflora. This beer is a strong, complex, and spontaneous delight. That's a 500ml bottle. I will be purchasing one of these, at least one of these afterwards, I think.
I don't want to date this, but I'm waiting because there's some others that they're bringing out, and I'm waiting for those to come out so I can do one big order.
Okay, we'll discuss later. Later. And then before I go on to I'm trying to figure out which one's the best one to do next. I'll just say they've got their Schnoodle Pip, which is our favourite collaborations brought back after a few years of absence. Our food-aged Solera Saison. Is that Solera? Yeah. Saison with a little raspberry and pink pepper was blended with some spontaneous Coolship sour beer and passion fruit and hibiscus to recreate one of our classic beers. Beautifully balanced with floral notes, a hint of spice, dry woody tannins, and rich, bright tropical fruitiness. That one to me sounds amazing. Like they both sound amazing, but that one where it's like a blended one sounds
my Schnoodle Pip bottle
so interesting.
It's just out of shot, but I've got my original bottle of Schnoodle Pip up the top there actually.
It just sounds so good.
Empty because I drank it because it was delicious.
Then they've got their collaboration with Smod. And it's cascading Coolships, madly Coolship hopped American Saison. A unique and crazy brew day with Dan and Martha from St. Mars the Desert has led to an amazing big Belgian Saison IPA that was very generously hopped through our 3 Coolships, one cascading through hops into the next. That sounds incredible, and the artwork on it is so cool looking, and then it's described as aromas are overwhelmingly brilliantly Belgian with pineapple, ripe mango, and a hint of pine. It's big and bold at 8% with a sticky richness with complex herbal, bitter orange, and pineapple flavors. These unique techniques have led to a full-on taste sensation that brings the best of old school IPA, modern American Saison, and traditional Belgian yeast characters together. This all sounds like it all just sounds amazing. So
take my money.
Yeah, we saw it come out and we knew we were recording this and we were like, do we delay?
But we wanted to get it out to you. We wanted to get because
it was so interesting. I wanted to learn about it, and then I was like, I'm gonna get them anyways. Yeah. So I was like, let's just do it. But it's cool because the 2 Wild Beer Co ones, I almost don't want to promote it because I don't want people to
don't buy them until we have.
Don't buy them until we have. But basically, like I feel like they're such a bargain as well because you've got both of them are 500ml bottles.
Well, they're so normally they do them in my old Schnoodle pit was 375, but the Coolship one usually comes in 750. So they've made them slightly smaller that year, but I think that's
still
better.
So they're both 500ml,
yeah,
and it's just slightly under 10 quid for that.
Yes, please.
I'm just like, that is, for me, in my opinion, what you're getting, what that is, it just seems like really good value for money. And I've paid 10 quid for 375ml. I've probably paid more than that for that Cantillon. You know what I mean? It sounds like amazing. And not to complain, because I totally get it. Because, but that's what I'm saying. It seems like really good value for money. So please don't buy it until we've bought it. But also, once we've bought it, then go ahead and buy it.
We might also have to buy a whiny beast for a future episode. Spoilers.
Don't spoiler alerts, Joe. Don't spoiler it.
Put a little subscribe in there, people, so you can find out what that's for.
What are we doing whiny beast for? I don't know.
I don't know what are we doing that for. So that's Wild Beer Co's ones. Massive fans of Wild Beer Co. Burning Sky obviously do a lot of Coolship beers. Who else have we got that does Coolship beers?
This is the thing, is like I said, I did basically no research because I just wanted to learn about stuff. I knew Burning Sky, Duration, St. Mars.
There's someone else
Wild.
that I is like on the tip of my tongue.
And that was all I knew. And like I said, that's because they have actively worked to promote the fact that they're like, we have a Coolship. Like that's part of the cool stuff that they talk about. And I mean, to be fair, I didn't even really know until we started getting into this, when we were researching, the very bare minimum research that I did. That's when I sort of realized like Allagash had one, because I never knew Allagash for their Coolship.
I mean, so they're the ones that kind of re-kicked it off in craft beer. So thanks, Allagash.
Completely. But when I was drinking Allagash, and I was like back in the year, it's like that's not what I was buying Allagash
White
for. Yeah, exactly. It was like Allagash White and like that stuff. There was no, oh, look at this like Coolship.
Well, it wasn't until 2007 that they installed their Coolship.
I was still over in the US at that point. I don't think I paid attention to the marketing like that. Like I didn't follow it in the same way that I follow certain breweries now. Just never knew. I was just like, I like their beer because I like their beer, and I never really dug into it on that like nerdier level, quote unquote, if you're not watching the video. So that was really interesting to find out, because I was like, oh, I never knew that. It's something that I'm sure everyone else would be like, oh, it's really obvious. Of course they do. But I always just drank the beer because I liked it, and never got into that side of things.
Okay, I think I've built this up. Do you want my amazing fun fact?
I'm nervous now, because what if it's like,
it's so good.
What if you're like, oh, it's amazing, and then I hear it and I'm like,
no, this is so good.
Right,
so
it's story time.
A brewery in Florida called Motorworks made a Coolship out of an El Camino truck.
That's pretty cool, though.
Right?
But of course, it's Florida that's done that.
Right.
Like someone in Florida obviously gone and been like, what can we do? We can make this El Camino into a Coolship.
Here's the story. Okay, so they were just brewing beer, doing their thing, and it was really, really hot. And they got talking about paddling pools. And they were just like, oh yeah, we could do the paddling pool to cool off. Oh, there's this old El Camino over there. We could turn the flatbed into a pool. Wait. We could turn the flatbed into a Coolship. How amazing would that be? So they did. So they lined the flatbed of the truck with heat-resistant food-grade membrane that was used for marijuana production. They secured it to the sides of the flatbed with industrial tape and filled it with beer, with the wort, right? They then...
Well, there's a then.
There's so much more. They then very carefully backed it out of the brewery.
It's still operational. Like you could still
drive. You can still drive it. Yeah, you can still drive it. They drove it out. This goes back to our mobile Coolships, right?
I guess, yeah.
They drove it out very carefully, didn't spill any of it, to under a 150-year-old oak tree.
Of course they did. Because
why would it there overnight to get the interesting stuff coming out of the oak tree? However, they said that they had to put a tent over it so that no cats jumped in it overnight.
That's fucking disgusting.
That
is disgusting.
They then
because you know that they were like, we have to put a tent over it so a cat doesn't get it, because you know that one cat got in it, and then they were like, one cat is too many cats.
No, they obviously just had cats around and they were like, oh, we better cover it.
I don't know.
So they put a tent over it. And then they barreled it the next day and they called it Fermentis Camino. Right? Amazing. And
That's
I believe,
a good one.
I think this was...
That gets standing ovation.
Right, I think this was in 2018 they did this.
Standing o. That is...
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I don't really have words for that.
So I found an article.
Do you have
all
a photo
about
of it?
There's right. So I found this article. I'll put the link in the show notes for it. There's a photo. If you look up Briss,
I was just gonna put in El Camino Coolship.
Yeah, right. Just put in Motorworks Coolship in a truck.
You could you don't even have to do that. Go to Google, put El Camino Coolship. The first thing that comes up, brewingwithbliss.com. Say what?
Go on that one.
Motorworks Brewing El Camino Coolship.
Right, open that one. That's got the pictures in it, and there's like detailed pictures of it, of the truck and everything.
That's like quite a new condition. Look, well, it looks quite new.
It was a 1984 El Camino.
Not new, but what I mean is it looks like it
looks well looked after.
Like refurbed it or something like that, because it looks like it's got like a fresh, shiny, well, not all of it, but it looks like they were in the middle of like respraying it or something like that, and they were probably midway through like doing like a nice conversion of it, and they were like, you know what, time out on that, we need a Coolship. Wow, I'm looking at these photos.
Isn't that just the best thing you've ever heard?
Yep.
See, I didn't over-egg it.
No, it's pretty good.
I was right.
It's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'll give you that one. Yeah. The photos.
I'll put the link to
go check
the
out
article that Tori's looking at right now in the show notes, so you can see the pictures and everything. It's even got like
the Florida funk
they used.
Like that.
I thought that was amazing. So literally you can make a Coolship out of anything.
That is, yeah. If they don't show you what you can do to make a Coolship, I don't know who can.
The experimentation of craft beer amazing.
Yeah. Yes. I'm still looking at this article and I'm just like, I don't have words.
So good. I thought it was so clever.
That is really good. Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for saving that for last. I needed that to pick me up today.
I was like, that is going to stay to the end. That is going to be.
I was on one today, and that's just cheered me up. I like that.
I knew you'd like that. I literally found it and was like, Tori is going to absolutely love this.
That's nice. I'm going to show Rick this one after. I think he'll appreciate it as a car person himself. I think he'll.
So good.
He'll probably be like, well, the fuck's a Coolship? And I'll be like, you're going to have to listen to the episode.
Can you ask him if you can put a Coolship in one of his cars?
I'll ask him and I'll report back how that goes.
Can we bleep out the expletives, please?
I'll give you the shortened version of it.
Yeah. Clean version, please.
I think the clean version will be like, no, thank you.
No. No.
Oh, yeah, that's brilliant. Oh, I feel like I learned a lot today, actually.
Oh, good.
Had some quite good beers. This one, 5.7%. It's funny, we started off high at the 8% with the Smod. I dipped down with mine, which was a 2.5 for the lamb bacon, and then I went right back up to the 5.7%. What was your
down? Hang on. Gers isn't that low, I don't think.
What's your Gers?
My Gers. Can't find it. 7. So I went 875.7.
So you just did like a slow progression. I did I did a roller coaster.
You did a roller coaster.
Yeah, I learned a bit. That was quite good. Got some super fun facts. Drank some good beers. I'm ready to go finish the rest of this Crocs and the Coolship. Because my Crocs are now staying in the Coolship. So that's good.
You calm them down. They're
yeah.
okay now.
It's payday today. I'm ready to go place a beer order. So where can people talk to you, Jo? If people want to ask you about the process of making a coolship, where can people come and speak to you?
If you want to come and talk to me about making a coolship, maybe ask me about my Cicerone training, how that's going. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot.
Would you consider making a coolship? Like, do you think you could make one?
I mean, I probably could, but I don't know if the amount that I brew would be worth it.
Fair.
It's only teeny tiny what I make.
Could you make like a teeny tiny baby one?
I probably could. I could probably just put it in a box. I could probably just put it in a tray. I could probably just put it on a baking tray.
You probably could. I think that should be a challenge for you for this year. Brew a beer in a coolship.
In a coolship.
And a cool tray.
I would definitely need a tent over it because of the next door's cats.
You do have cats.
You
do have cats. Yeah. And that cat is like, this is my garden. I've seen it.
It's not the cat's garden. I'm definitely in a not my cat moment when it comes to visit. Not my cat.
But anyway, if someone wants to challenge you to make a coolship, where can they come and speak to you?
If you'd like to challenge me to make a coolship, you can talk to me at A Woman's Brew on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Tend to be on Instagram. You can also come and visit my beer school and learn more about beer styles, learn about gers, learn about spontaneously fermented beers with us. We are Love Beer Learning. That is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Tend to hang out on Instagram again. I'm also on TikTok. Did a little takeover of somebody's account the other day.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, excited.
Yes, yeah, they were taking a break, so they asked me to come and post a video for one of their days, so I did. And it was one of the Mead guys, so that was fun.
Cool.
So check out my TikToks. We're also on Pinterest. We also have a website, which is lovebeerlearning.co.uk, and you can email us to say what other things do you want to learn about with us on the podcast. That is lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. And if you would like to support us in making this podcast so that we can continue to educate you and enthrall you with stories of trucks turned into coolships, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/lovebeerlearning. For £2 a month, you can support us and help us to continue doing this vital research into craft beer for you. Tori, if they want to talk
really
to
the
you,
Lord's work. Really.
If they want to talk to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, if you want to come talk to me about
crocodiles.
Oh, crocodiles. Yeah, I don't know much about crocodiles. I don't know. Just come talk to me. I get lonely sometimes. You can find me on Instagram at adventures_in_optimism. We got some really cool things, I think, covered up that obviously we can't share at the moment, but I'm really excited about some of the stuff coming up. So
we got some good stuff. Yeah.
Come talk to both of us, or at least follow us so that you can actually see. We get to talk about the cool stuff because I'm really excited for that. So yeah, that's it. Should we go drink some more beer?
Let's. On that note,
cheers.